welcome to Choreographer Talk. My name is Jane D'Angelo. I'm the director of Ohio Dance and producer of the OhioDance Festival. Today, our guest choreographer is Lauren Squires. Lauren is a tap dance choreographer, performer, and educator. She is also the director of Movement Afoot, and her choreography, the Kenny Clarke Caravan Idea, will be performed at the OhioDance Festival Saturday, April 26th at 7:30. The concert is held at the Ohio State University Department of Dance, Sullivant Hall, and I will put in the information when we post this where to purchase tickets. Thank you for joining us today, Lauren. We're happy to have you. And we'd love to know what your piece is about or what people, the audience will kind of find out about you and your piece when they come to see the show.
Yeah, thanks, Jane. I'm very excited to present this piece. It's called The Kenny Clarke Caravan Idea, and the title, if you know anything about the words in that title, might be sort of obvious where the origination comes from. But basically, I was listening to a recording of Thelonious Monk's album where he plays all Duke Ellington tunes. And on that album, there's a track that is Caravan, a Duke Ellington classic standard, jazz standard. And the drummer is Kenny Clarke. And the way that he drums on that track is just completely blew my mind and it was unbelievable to me. And one of the things that I was so struck by was how, and every once in a while I listen to a jazz track and I think that drummer sounds like a tap dancer. And that's what I felt listening to this track and Kenny Clarke's drums on that track, is that I could have thought it was a tap dancer holding down the groove that he produces throughout most of that track. And so, I've always been very interested in these questions about what makes tap dance sound the way that it does, what makes it sound similar to or different from something like drumming. And so the piece is partly sort of about that, but really I took the groove from that song, that Kenny Clarke groove, and I generated this piece along with the drummer Max Button. So Max will be playing live with us in the performance. He's a fantastic Columbus jazz drummer, and we worked together and together with the other dancers in the piece to really anchor ourselves to that groove and that feeling of the song, that track of Caravan with Kenny Clarke playing, but then, take it into new places that we felt were appropriate as we were doing our dancing and as Max was trying to work through making this composition with us. So, the piece is set to all drums. There's no other music. It's live jazz drums. And we actually, throughout the piece, also are not always wearing tap shoes. So this is another thing I have a lot of interest in, is of course, there are a lot of forms of dance similar to tap dance that don't use tap shoes. And so I was sort of thinking about how does the sound and the movement change that we can do, that we feel compelled to do, whether we're wearing tap shoes or we're not wearing tap shoes, whether we're barefoot, whether we're wearing sneakers, whether, how that sort of apparatus, the thing that's between our feet and the floor, how that changes what we might do or how we might feel that same groove that we're working with. So the choreographic concept and ideas are mine, but I should say that the dancers in the piece definitely contributed to the overall piece, both choreographically. They're doing their own individual movements at different times. And of course, Janet Schrader, one of my main collaborators, who's the assistant director of Movement Afoot, also, we worked a lot together thinking about the staging in particular. So the staging will also be very unique. We've done this piece one other time, and it was at the New Albany Dance Festival last summer. And that is a very different kind of stage than what we're going to have in the Barnett Theatre. So we are bringing in our tap boards, which we also did last summer, and arranging them in ways that make sense for the particular space. And in doing that, I think we also, tap dancers, we always come up against the issue of space and floor, and most dance, sort of concert dance settings are not set up for tap dance. So we are often bringing our own stages, bringing our own floors, and so some of the piece is also a little bit of a meditation or maybe a comment on just that fact and that situation that we find ourselves in as tap dancers, to often be creating the stage, right, from nothing, wherever we go. So, and I guess I will. This has all sounded very serious, but the piece is very upbeat. It's very lively. It's very dynamic, and it doesn't stop. So I hope people will enjoy just sort of the overall energy of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that explanation. It was great. Really good to know the backstory and the music. I love that piece of music. Absolutely. So it is a beautiful piece of music that you're talking about, the inspiration. So talking about inspiration, where do you, other than that piece of music, where do you find your inspiration for choreography?
Yeah. Well, I say so many places, but it always comes down to something about music or a rhythmic idea. So, to me, tap dance is really about the sound and about, maybe not always about a groove, but I'm always exploring something auditory. So, a lot of times that idea will come in the form of a tune, a musical melody that I am captured by and that I want to play with, or that I want to dance around. So sometimes it comes in the form of a melody. Sometimes it's more of a rhythmic idea or percussive thing. For this piece, the groove that the drummer lays down in that recorded track, it's like ba da ka dee ka ba do ka dee da ka da ba da dee ka da do ka dee da ka da. And so, that's like a groove. But then I also might think about a melody, and sort of where the spaces lie in a melody, where the emphasis and the, you know, um, movement in a melody is, if I'm thinking about a jazz song. And then sometimes it's not so much motivated originally from the music, but maybe from the dancers who I have who are going to be in a piece, and how I can best, highlight the talent of who is there on the stage, and what kinds of things we're capable of as a group, or they're, if I'm not in the piece, they're what they're capable of as a group, and how to highlight tap dance in, particular sets of people. Maybe I'm thinking about, I want to do a duet, or I want to do a quartet, and how those configurations of people change what's possible, both musically and in the dance. um, I would say the piece I'm presenting at this festival is a little bit more like narrative like than what I tend to create. Which again, I mean, I don't know that it tells a story, but I can sort of say what it's about in a way that I can't always do for my work. A lot of times, it's not really about anything. It's just a nice rhythmic thing that's coming out, and a sound experience. So I guess that's there's different ways you can approach what you're doing in terms of kind of what it's about. Um, yeah, and I think sometimes I have, so, as one of the things I didn't get a lot of growing up as a tap dancer, and I've tried to seek out and get more of as an adult, is classic tap dance work and repertoire. Things that are, from the past, that are sort of revered tap dancers have passed on, through generations. And so sometimes gaining access to some of those things has spurred something in me to explore, or to bring into what I'm doing. I try to look back a lot more at history as I've gotten older, which I guess is probably a normal normal progression. But pay tribute and honor what has happened in the past, and who the leaders of the form were, whether they were recognized or not. Many times they were not very recognized. So,
Well, thank you. That was really good to know, and we really look forward to your piece, Saturday, April 26th.